For the most part, video games do a pretty good job of easing players into the game and introducing the skills that form the fundamentals of a game and will help you progress through it. And hopefully, by the end of the game, you will have mastered these core mechanics. In most cases, the game will respect the player's ability to learn these new skills and ease them through the game and gradually introduce harder challenges. However, there are those times when the game decides that in fact you should be the one respecting it, and you have to prove to the game that you have the skills needed to progress. These normally come in the form of areas that have an increased difficulty level and will, for most of the time, come completely out of nowhere and place basically a massive roadblock in your way. These can be compared in a way to difficulty spikes, but I'm classing those in a different sort of category. A roadblock is something that stands in your way and holds almost all progress in a game, whereas a difficulty spike may be something more optional, like the Trial Galaxies from Super Mario Galaxy. Something that is no doubt still quite hard and challenging, but not required for beating the game. As always, there are a few simple rules for this list. Entries will only be from games I've played, and only one entry per franchise, as always. Also, this list is all my own opinion, and with a topic so subjective as difficulty, there is no way your list will be the same as mine. So with that out of the way, let's get started. As many of you know, I don't really have that many bad things to say about the Kingdom Hearts franchise. I mean, it's a masterfully created game series that I have loved for so many years now, and I've played through it more times than I can count at this point. However, there is one area from the first Kingdom Hearts that always makes me dread arriving, because I know as soon as I touch down, all my hard work and grinding will be for naught for quite a while, and I'm probably gonna get my ass handed to me. This area is Hollow Bastion from the first Kingdom Hearts, and oh boy, the first arrival at this place really sucks. Now, what makes the first visit to Hollow Bastion in the original Kingdom Hearts such a challenging roadblock for players to overcome is that, like what I said in the intro to this video, it kinda comes out of nowhere. At the very beginning of the area, Riku, one of Sora's supposed best friends, just takes your Keyblade right from under you. The weapon you've been using all game. Just takes it for himself, saying that you were just the delivery boy. This means that you are reduced to using a wooden sword to fight through the first section of the area, and also solve a ridiculously stupid puzzle. Granted, you do have Beast to help you out, but still, using a wooden sword to fight Heartless is absolutely impractical, and you have to rely on an AI companion to do the fighting for you. I don't know if you know this, but Kingdom Hearts companions can be quite stupid at times. The second real area of difficulty comes from the boss fight against Maleficent. And obviously this was never going to be just some simple fight against the witch who wants to rule the world with the power of darkness. No. Riku decides to give her a little bit of a buff and turns her into the frickin' massive dragon at the end of Sleeping Beauty. Get ready to be healing a lot because this boss is so aggressive. There is no chance that you're going to have enough time to catch your breath, pop a potion, and heal yourself. Finally, we come to the final boss of the area, Riku himself. This is technically the second fight with Riku, but in the first one you had companions to help you out. In the second fight, it's a straight one-on-one, you and Riku, and let me tell you, he is no slouch now that he's powered up with Ansem. This fight actually serves as an almost perfect mirror to the fight you would have with him at the beginning of the game, back on Destiny Islands. What makes this fight even harder though, is that, like Dragon Maleficent, Riku is also extremely aggressive and will take no issue with overwhelming you with a flurry of attacks and sending you right back to your last save. Hollow Bastion is by far the hardest area in the original Kingdom Hearts, at least for me, and will probably require you to do a fair bit of grinding to get through it. Oh boy, I'm getting so many points for originality again. Let's see, putting Dark Souls on another list, and also putting Dark Souls on a list about difficulty. Wow, I'm just so original. But seriously, Capra Demon in the first Dark Souls is not the first time you'll be faced with a hard boss. I mean, all of the bosses for new players are hard in Dark Souls. However, out of the early game bosses, with the others being Asylum Demon, Taurus, and the Gargoyles, Capra Demon, for me at least, presents the highest degree of difficulty and will probably be the first real time you get really stuck in Dark Souls. Capra's main point of difficulty doesn't even come from Capra himself. It comes from his goddamn dogs that join him in the boss fight. You take the dogs away and the fight actually isn't that hard. You run up the staircase and just do the plunging attack until he falls over and submits. A rather cheap tactic, but to be fair, so is having those goddamn dogs. When you first enter the boss room, you will no doubt be rushed by the dogs, taking you possibly off guard if you're not ready for it. If you can roll past them, then hey, congrats, you might stand a chance now. But if you can't get past them, they back you into a corner, well then your resulting death will surely come quick and painfully. The dogs aren't as easily manipulated by the stairs as well, and can still kill you while you're running up them, or they'll stall you long enough for Capra to come along and crush you with his dual machetes. This fight can get really ridiculous at some points, and there is a really good reason this guy didn't make it into the top 20 Dark Souls bosses, not even as an honourable mention. While we're on the topic of early game bosses that really like to notch up the difficulty perhaps a little bit too much, we have Whitney from the second generation of Pokemon. Whitney, the third gym leader in Pokemon Gold, Silver, Crystal, and the remakes Heart Gold and Soul Silver, specializes in the normal type Pokemon. To some they may hear this and say, oh well, normal types aren't that bad, and they aren't even super effective against anything, so what's the big challenge? To which I respond with, oh you poor soul, you have so much to learn. Whitney's biggest issue doesn't stem from there not really being any fighting types in the early game of Gold and Silver, it comes from her goddamn milk tank. Yes, I know, she has a Clefairy, but since when the hell was that thing ever threatening? You see, to those of you who don't know, normal types kinda fall into two categories. The really strong and offensive ones like Mega Kangaskhan and Slacking, and the incredibly tanky ones like Blissey, that will sit there, smile at you, and take almost any hit you have. Miltank falls into more of the second category, being able to take seemingly hit after hit and not be phased. It also doesn't help that the damn thing has Milk Drink, which allows it to heal off the damage you do, making it an even more of an insufferable git. It literally makes it the physical representation of a roadblock. However, that's not what makes it so bad either. What makes it so bad is the fact that this thing likes to use a little move called Rollout, a move that hits harder each consecutive turn for 5 turns, and by the 5th turn is pretty much capable of one-hit KOing any team member you have. This gym will probably be the first time in Pokemon Gold and Silver that you will legitimately get frustrated at and be stuck on for quite a while. Remember when I said that this list was going to have my own opinion in it? Well, here comes the first entry that's my own opinion. Please welcome the Great Maze from Super Smash Bros. Brawl. Don't hurt me. Now, I understand a few of you thinking that me putting Super Smash Bros. Brawl on this list is a little bit of a bad thing, because Super Smash Bros. Brawl, as I understand, isn't widely seen as the best Super Smash Bros. But it was the first Smash Bros. Game I played, so it does hold a little bit of a special place in my heart. However, the Great Maze at the end of the Subspace Emissary does not. I actually really enjoyed the story mode from Brawl, and thought it was quite an interesting and fun way to link all the characters together, and then have them team up and fight this great threat. However, in order to get to the final boss of the game, you have to trek through the Great Maze. Emphasis is on the words Great and Maze. This place holds every other location previously seen in Brawl, and requires you to go through and beat every boss in the game a second time. So it's essentially a boss rush. Okay, not terrible. The bosses in Brawl weren't too challenging, and you may not think this sounds too bad, until you realize you have to fight almost every character on Brawl's roster. This is no question. You will get lost in here. This place is not somewhere you can easily get through in a simple play session, and will eat up so much of your time. Oh, also, did I mention that once you've defeated every other boss, you have to find the specific room that leads to the final boss. Good luck. Now for the second entry on this list that is all my own opinion. Oh boy, if the inclusion of Brawl made some of you guys mad, I cannot wait to see how you react to this next entry. I want to grab my flame shield, but I'm gonna leave it alone for this one. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you number 6. Yes, you are not mistaken. I am putting Final Fantasy XIII on this list. And I'm also going to say this. I don't think it's as terrible as people make it out to be. Yes, the battle system can be a bit repetitive with its press A to win button, and some of the levels can be linear at times. But we're not here to talk about the game and the good things about it. We're here to talk about Barthandelus, or more specifically, the first time you fight him. And I don't have many good things to say about this boss. Barthandelus is a Foul C, and is a boss that comes along in Disc 3, and like many Final Fantasy bosses, will put up quite a hard fight. He has a couple of phases that he'll go through, and a multitude of different attacks. One of these attacks being Thanatosian Smile, which sounds quite delightful, but I assure you it's not. This shoots out a bunch of lasers at every party member, and will probably kill at least 2 of your party if they're not all at full health. This battle really comes down to how well can you manage shifting between your paradigms in response to how the fight is going. And even still, this guy will manage to kick your ass more than a couple of times. People would always tell me that Cid Reigns was the hardest boss, but I beat him on my first go. Barthandelus, on the other hand, took me about 2 weeks to finally overcome. And you know what makes it worse? This is the first time you fight him in the game. He comes back a total of 2 more times throughout the story. Surely once was enough, Final Fantasy XIII. Now, for this next entry, I'm going to need you to cast your mind back to the 1990s and imagine yourself sitting down in front of your PlayStation 1 playing Metal Gear Solid. You're thinking, hey, this game's really great. I'm running around as this awesome military spy, and I just destroyed that massive tank just then. Oh hey, Mel's back. But she seems to be acting a little bit weird. I wonder what that's about. Wait a minute, what's going on with that floating... What just happened to my TV? Yep, it's Psycho Mantis. When Metal Gear Solid came out in 1998, many players sat down with the expectations that this game, like many others, would abide by the simple rules that define normal video games. However, this game was made by Hideo Kojima, and he doesn't really care much for normal video game rules. So when many players got to the Psycho Mantis boss battle, many players were stopped flat in their tracks, and they had no idea how to stop Psycho Mantis from supposedly reading their minds. Many players really believe that Psycho Mantis was a real psychic, and he was able to read the player's memory card and tell the player what games they'd been playing. It was only when Colonel eventually calls you and tells you to change the controller from port 1 to 2 that you are finally able to defeat this guy. However, without knowing this, it's pretty much impossible to beat Mantis, which is why he served as a pretty daunting and terrifying roadblock for many gamers in the past, and has earned him a spot in video game history. Also, an interesting thing to know is that in the PS3 re-release of this game, there are no controller ports. It's a wireless controller, so you have to find a way to go into the settings and change your controller from port 1 to 2. So somehow, this got more challenging over time? How did that work? So I recently picked up a multitude of fantastic Sonic games, and have been playing through the original, and I've really been enjoying it. The old school style of Sonic is really fun to play through, especially seeing as how many of Sonic's more recent offerings have been less than booming successes. The best thing of the game, for me at least, has definitely been the incredible speed. There's just something so satisfying about blasting through levels at amazing speeds and rolling around at the speed of sound. So it boggles my mind as to why they decided to throw all this away with the Labyrinth Zone. If there is anything that ruins speed in a game, it's water physics, and the Labyrinth Zone has some serious slowdown to go along with it. So that, combined with the fact that the Labyrinth Zone consists of you completing puzzles with switches, and you have a level that practically abandons Sonic's core idea of speed. I mean hell, even Sonic Unleashed was able to keep Sonic's day missions fast. But no, the Labyrinth Zone would prefer you to abandon this to make a level revolving around water and solving puzzles. Actually, that's making me think of another area with water that really frustrates gamers. From one hated water level to perhaps the most infamous water level in history, you all saw it coming. Welcome to the Water Temple from Ocarina of Time. Specifically, the Water Temple from the original Ocarina of Time, as in the 3D remaster. They did fix a couple of issues, like the color coding, and having the iron boots be a C item. However, in the original game, there is none of this, and so the Water Temple stands as a roadblock that will take a long time to get past. First off, we'll start with the same problem that the Labyrinth Zone has, that being combining water and puzzles together. Now in Zelda, you do expect each dungeon to have a specific puzzle related to the theme of the dungeon, so we can't really criticize it on that note. However, the one for the Water Temple has to do with raising and lowering the water levels in order to gather the keys needed to get through the dungeon. However, where the frustration comes in is that in the original, it feels like you have to open and close your menu almost every 10 seconds to apply or take off the iron boots. It also doesn't help that this dungeon is also very easy to get lost in, and of course, there is always going to be that one key that no matter how thorough you are and how hard you look, you are always going to miss it. It really says something when Eiji Aonuma, the creator of Ocarina of Time, felt the need to apologize for the Water Temple and how challenging it was to overcome. That's almost evidence enough for this level to be on this list. The original Jak and Daxter was quite a whimsical adventure through a colourful collectathon brought to us by Naughty Dog, and was quite inviting to new players. But it wasn't too long before they decided that, for the sequel, they were just going to screw this idea and go for a grittier story, and notch up the difficulty several notches. And so, Jak 3 Renegade was released, and this new difficulty level was felt in no better place than the chase sequence with the security tank. The main thing that makes the security tank chase really hard is that, for starters, it is on a fixed perspective, and you need to complete platforming stages while running away from the tank. The tank also fires at a rate that would put the battle rifle from Halo to shame. And also, as a level goes on more and more, cannons and turrets are introduced at a faster rate. This makes what would be an already difficult section of the game 10 times harder. Oh, what if I jump over the turrets and just... Nope, that did not work. I am dead again. I hate this chase. It combines two of my least favorite things, chases and fixed camera angles. Chase sequences already put a lot of pressure on the player, as one wrong step generally means game over, and with a fixed camera angle, you're more than likely to make more mistakes and misjudge your jumps. Adding the number of turrets and cannons on top of that, you have a level that will have you yearning for the collectathon days of old. Also, special mention to the water slumps escape from later in the game as well, for also being completely and utterly ball-busting. You really have to ask yourself how the creator of the colourful and loving Jak and Daxter could then go on to make a sequel that harbours such a brutal and hateful level. Now, being completely honest, there is something refreshing about playing a game that sometimes likes to kick your ass and not feel too sorry about it. Games like Demon's Souls, Ninja Gaiden, and Ghosts and Goblins really have no issue with throwing you to the ground and straight up telling you to deal with it. The thing is, a lot of these games either take inspiration from, or come from the more retro era of gaming. And so we come to the king of retro gaming sadism, Battletoads. And honestly, did you expect anything else? This is a game that prides itself with kicking your ass and giving no form of an apology. And this is expressed in no better form than in the third level of the game, the infamously infamous Turbo Tunnels. Whitney's Milk Tank may have been the physical representation of a roadblock in video games, but Turbo Tunnels takes it up another step by putting actual roadblocks in your way and expecting you to get past all of them. Turbo Tunnels' main game mechanic is maneuvering your Battletoad through this devilishly difficult course on his hoverbike. There are insane jumps you need to make, roadblocks that take pinpoint accuracy to avoid and get around, and not to mention the speed increases as the level goes on. So by the end of it, you'll need to have the reaction time of a trained ninja to pass through unscathed. You also have to remember Battletoads came out on the NES originally. Sure, it was ported to the Xbox One with Rare Replay, but that didn't change anything about the difficulty. But because it originally came out on the NES, it came out in a time where there was no such thing as an online wiki or guide. This meant that players had to make their way through the game on their own merits. And sure, some players may have been able to make it through the first 2 levels of Battletoads without much trouble, but so many would have come blocked at Turbo Tunnels. You've also only got 3 lives to start with, so you know, good luck. This has been Charzzariah, and personally, as someone who takes pride in my own video gaming ability, the idea of playing through Turbo Tunnels still is extremely daunting. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.